Xenopixel or RGB? What's the difference? Well, let's take a look. A quick thanks to Damiensabers for sponsoring this video by providing these lightsabers. And links for where you can find these sabers will be in the description below. If you ever had a light-up lightsaber as a kid, then you're already familiar with the concept behind an RGB lightsaber. When you see an RGB lightsaber, it's generally going to be a baselit RGB. And that means that it's basically just a really fancy flashlight that projects up through the blade. And these blades will be hollow tubes, not really anything fancy going on in there. Because it's essentially a really fancy flashlight, these are going to be your cheaper options, and more durable. Your special effects on the blade are going to be limited by the fact that it's just a base light, so your options there are only what the base light itself can do, which generally just means flashing. And while it is baselit, you do have other options because it is an RGB blade, so that means it's an RGB LED in there, which will give you a whole color spectrum that you can actually switch between and play around with. Now your Xenopixel blade is going to work a little differently. Rather than having a base light that illuminates up through the entire blade, you are instead going to have a conductor in there that will feed the electrical current into the blade itself, which within the blade is a sequence of LEDs that will then all illuminate in sequence. You might be able to just make them out in there, which means that once contact is made, you're going to have even distribution of lighting all throughout the blade, which will give you a lot more control over where the blade is lighting at any given point. It lets you get these much smoother ignition sequences and so many fun animations you can tap into. If you're ever going to a party, a Xenopixel is going to give you the fanciest glow stick by far. But because you have all these LEDs running throughout the entire blade, there's a lot more inside the blade that can potentially be broken by impacts. So if you are too rough with a Xenopixel blade, although they will hold up to some sparring, you can potentially break LEDs in the sequence, and you start having these gaps in the lighting, and it just starts to look rather unfortunate. And of course, either style of lightsaber will give you plenty of sound effects to play around with to your heart's content. If you're looking for the best possible lightsaber effect, and it's within your budget, then the Xenopixel is definitely the way to go. This is a great choice for collectors, or cosplayers, anybody who really wants the high-fidelity lightsaber experience. If you're looking to get some heavy sparring in with a lightsaber, then you're probably looking for a baselit. It's going to be more durable in that respect than a pixel blade. You're not going to have those LEDs throughout that each can be potentially broken, and if you do break the blade, it's a lot cheaper to replace. It's also worth mentioning that depending on the kind of Xenopixel lightsaber you get, you might actually be able to get an adapter blade plug that will basically function as a base light for the Xenopixel blade. So you would take your Xenopixel out, you'd put the base light in, and then put a normal base light blade in, and now you've converted your Xenopixel to a baselit RGB. So you get basically the best of both worlds. If you've made it this far, then you've reached the part of the video where I was going to announce that I'd be giving away this lightsaber. Except, while I was producing this video, Damiensaber went and unveiled a new crossguard lightsaber, and it looks really, really cool. So I reached out to them and said, hey, can we switch things up a little bit? So instead of giving away this one, I'll be giving away this one. And if you want to figure out how to get it, you'll just need to stay tuned, because I'll be doing a follow-up video in the near future.